and welcome to the Ginette Biro podcast. I'm Ginette Biro, and for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. We're happy to have you, and I say we because it is me on behalf of Avalon Spirit Inc. and also the multitude of guides that end up joining every time as well. And I say guides because I'm a medium as well, and I channel whether it be family members, friends, guides, angels, you name it. And what's really started with this podcast is since the pandemic has happened, we've been hearing from a different set of guides, and this new set of guides are quite awesome. Actually, I'm really starting to enjoy them, and they're the three guides of the light. And Spirit has been inviting me to share these messages of inspiration and hope with everybody during this COVID crisis. Now, when I first channeled these three guides of the light to share these messages with you, their first message was to go inward, and that this really is a time to slow down. It's a time to go inward and reassess who you are and your impact in the world. Now, they shared this message after I'd gone to them with several questions of, like, when is this pandemic going to be over? How many people are going to get sick? And, a whole list of left brain stuff of what I wanted to know, what we thought was important. As a business, as a collective, as people that should have these answers. And Spirit really said, they were very specific in saying, you're missing the point. The point of this pandemic is to go within. So then their second message to us last week, because it seems like we're getting these about once a week, their second message was that this is really a time of change and that you have free will and choice within this. And so really the idea was that we are on the verge of a massive shift and rebirth for individuals and the collective and the planet. And there's this wave being created of this pandemic that really can be changed depending on people's choices and actions. And the degree to which that wave comes in daily changes daily based on what we do. And so every action you make for love, kindness, compassion, self-love, inward reflection, all of those things really help in creating this shift. So this week, as I tuned into Spirit today, the three guides of the light, their message was one of unity. And at first I was like, unity? But we've been going inward. Like, what are you talking about, unity? And Spirit is really asking us this week to focus on relationships on all levels and the concepts of unity within those. So, up to now, Spirit has been saying and asking for us to go inward. But now the message is really about relationships and how we are to go kind of outward, but from within, then moving out. So the focus is on healing and clearing in relationships, and clearing and transcending fear and anger and worry and judgment into a greater sense of unity with all. And basically that brings us back to this idea and this feeling of compassion. So they showed me this picture. Now, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'll show you guys the picture. This was the picture that they gave me, so I'll explain it. So they showed me this picture for creating unity, and that it really starts by creating a unity of yourself, of your own self. Then once you have that little foundation in there, then you can start to create unity with self and family. And then it expands upward from with self and community, and then self and collective, and then self and the cosmic and spirit, right? It's your relationship to each of those levels. And there's complexities in each, and there's simplicities in each. And so creating that unity within yourself is the most important and the starting point, which is basically what they've been saying by us needing to go inward and look what's inside. And so this whole idea of unity starts with compassion and forgiveness, in accepting ourselves as we are, that we are whole, complete, perfect souls. We are not our ego or the things that happen to us. We really are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we really need to have that ultimate level of love and compassion for ourselves to create that sense of unity within, so we're not fragmented into different soul aspects or situations in our life, we bring all those back together to create that unity within ourselves of wholeness, right? And once we do that, then the ripples that come out of that ripple effect from our wholeness really does impact the world as it moves up through those levels. So while Spirit is speaking about unity and relationship outwardly, it is still a very internal and inward experience. So I do want to really stress that. So once we move on from unity with self and bringing all those fragments of ourselves back together and loving and honoring them, the next level is like unity with our family and how we can accept our family as souls that are also whole and perfect and complete in their own journeys. And that conflicts and stuff really are them holding up a mirror to us to give us an opportunity to see the things that we need to change. Just as we are holding up a mirror to them to see the things that maybe they could change. You know, maybe it's a mirror to show them the things that they're doing amazingly, but it's also a mirror to show them the things that maybe they could morph and change or move through. You know, like any of the triggers, things that trigger us emotionally is really a sign for us to look inward at what that emotion is trying to teach us as we grow. And so when we can start to see our family with forgiveness and compassion and view things from their perspective, even if we don't agree, we do not have to agree. But if we have the willingness to try on their shoes, literally if you want to, go put their shoes on, that might help. But it will give you an idea of their perspective. And then once you can understand that, then you can understand where they're coming from and why. And again, it doesn't mean you have to agree with what they're saying, but it gives you an idea of why they are being the way they are. And at that point, once you understand, you can then choose to either take it on as a conversation or release it as something that has nothing to do with you. It is not yours, but you don't need to carry that energy. So this kind of really gives you an opportunity to create change in either family dynamics, family ancestral patterns, karmas, and also to cement the things that are working really well. So as we move on from unity with family, we then move into unity in relationship with community. And so remember that same thing is your emotions and your connections to communicate with your community and how you interact and feel about your community really starts within you. And you know, especially during this time of global crisis and nonstop news, and we are in a greater community with our neighborhood and our city and our province and our states and, you know, the country and the globe, really. We're hearing politicians and health professionals talking every day, and, you know, that's got to affect you. And that affects people around you. And, you know, is that causing you worry or anger or frustration or fear? And, you know, for example, if we're going to the grocery store, I was at the grocery store the other day and I was standing in my red circle of where I needed to stand at the till, and the people ahead of me were in their circle. So I wasn't stepping over in any way, and I put some of my stuff on the conveyor belt and they told me I had to take it off because I wasn't supposed to put it on the belt. And I didn't know that. I left a lot of room in between mine. So, and the lady at the till, she's like, yeah, things are changing every day. And so, you know, I really quickly thought in my head, like, well, yeah, okay, fair enough. They're not telling me this because they think I'm silly or inconsiderate or whatnot. They're telling me that because that's a rule that they're aware of and they're sharing it. And maybe they are more afraid in every moment than I am. Not saying that I'm careless. I'm very cautious and conscious of it, but their perspective brought them to a point of needing to say something, which is fine. So instead of me responding as like, oh, I did something wrong, or oh, they're being picky, or oh, this or that, or whatever it could have been, I simply was like, they are experiencing this perspective or this pandemic from their perspective, and I can completely respect that. So I took all my stuff off and I put it back in my basket and I held it within my red circle still. I didn't even get out of it, but I held it off because I knew that that would make them feel better. And when I did that, I could sense their energy being like, oh, okay, good, good. You know, again, it wouldn't bother me if somebody else had their groceries 3 feet away from mine on the belt and they're in their circle. It wouldn't bother me. But that doesn't matter, because what could I do in that situation for the people ahead of me was to take mine off. It helped them. Why hinder it, right? So check in with all the stuff that you're hearing Is it affecting you? Is it causing you worry? Is it causing other people worry? And maybe checking in from that perspective, we have a little bit more respect within our community and people as to where they're coming from. Because really, unity is about being aware of our thoughts and others' thoughts and how those all interplay. And so, I mean, we can look at that on a bigger level too. If we look at the actions of politicians and even different countries, they can generate really strong feelings in a lot of people. And how many of you or your family members have really strong, polarized, judgmental views about how things are being handled? It's hard not to. We all have a stand on what we think is right or wrong, right? But what Spirit is encouraging us from a higher level is to realize that all people are coming with their own views for their own reasons. We don't have to agree with it, but we can be compassionate about it. We can ask the questions to better understand. We don't have to attach to these emotions. We can really play a role through our own caring, loving thoughts, transmuting and transcending the strong emotions, that are coming through. That really is where our control is. And so, again, if we look at that I kind of mentioned with politicians, but let's go to that country level now, because there's different things coming up with different countries, like Canada this, China this, US this, and each country, in a sense, again, from a Spirit perspective, is coming to the table as well with their own reasons for what they're doing. And to them, their reasons are valid. Whether we perceive it as good or bad, what's happening in these countries has to do with our perspective. And so sometimes when we can just even acknowledge that, if one country is doing this based on what they think is right, or the political party thinks is right, we can take the energy off of us that is weighing us down in the injustice, because there's only a certain amount that we can do from our spot, and that is to change the things within that we can. We can highlight information, we can share information, we can whatnot, but to sit in an energy of anger, of worry, of festering, it doesn't do us any good in the ripples that we send out energetically. We can share it, but sometimes we can release those if we understand their perspective, even if we think, again, it is wrong. I know that I'm kind of touching on some tender ground there for some people, and I'm really not wanting to get into a political argument here by any means. I'm really speaking from the Spirit perspective of compassion and understanding on any level that you look at it. So these are just examples. And so if we think about it, we can play a role in the collective energies by not deepening negative thoughts and energies or wallowing in them personally, but by transmuting the negative energies and thoughts that may exist about countries, politicians, and whatnot. Just like the situation of COVID-19, it is a situation that is, and what it's allowing us is an opportunity to learn and grow. And so really, compassion is at the root of all of this. This is a message that we keep coming back to with Spirit over and over, no matter which level we're looking at it, whether we're going within, looking outside of us, cosmically, looking humanitarianly, within a community. It all has to do with compassion. When we have enough compassion to try to understand someone's reasons, we then have the power to transmute the blocks or limitations. And when we transmute those blocks or limitations that stick to us, then we can start to create a greater sense of unity. Like anything that we do has a ripple effect. And if we mend the conflict within our own lives, within our own selves of the triggers, then it ripples outwards. If we stop the thoughts of anger, fear, and worry, that's going to have an effect. And if we start to shift and change our collective conflict energies to compassion and understanding, whether we agree or not, that gives us more energy to our neighbors, to our community, to our governments and corporations to shift as well. So remember that forgiveness is important in each of these layers. And sometimes forgiveness can come from a state within. It doesn't always have to require a conversation. We don't always, one of the things that Spirit kept saying today was, it doesn't always have to be talked out to the nth degree. Sometimes it can just be a nod or an energetic knowing that whatever that was in the past, and now we're moving forward together. They said, let bygones be bygones. Hold hands and move forward together. So again, it's an example that we can even find forgiveness in people that have passed. We can find forgiveness in all kinds of things. It's this concept of forgiveness that allows us to just really bring this unity back within the collective. So again, what's happening universally happens collectively, happens in our countries, it happens within each one of us. So we may not be able to mend any conflict in the relationships of Canada or the US and Canada and China, but we can do our part in creating that ripple by mending our relationships within our own lives, to our family, communities, collective, but most importantly, our relationship with self. And so if we come back to Spirit's first original message about COVID-19 was an opportunity to slow down and get to know self, right? That is your most important relationship, is self, and not in a selfish way, because we've been conditioned to think that focusing on self is selfish. It's not, when done in a way that is building you up, helping you discover who you are through your strength and your faults. Get to know self, because you are your greatest creator. You are your greatest advocate. You are your greatest journey. Everything else is a bonus. So again, another way that Spirit kind of was able to explain these layers, and this kind of blew my mind today. So as they were helping me understand this, they showed me the image of a tapestry. And I know I've talked about a tapestry before. We all have a tapestry of our lives. And if you look at it like that concept of destiny and free will, and how things are all interconnected in our lives into this tapestry. And when you look at the front of the tapestry, it's this beautiful design. You flip it over and you see the amount of crisscrosses of threads, and you can't even imagine how that created such a beautiful picture on the front. And so they brought me today to the Planetary Tapestry. Now, that was massive. That was vast. They showed me the vastness. It was so big, had so many layers, so many crisscrosses. It was so complex. The vastness of the Planetary Tapestry was beyond comprehension, because think about it. Every one of your lives, everybody that's listening to this in the world, has their own individual tapestry, which is woven into that planetary tapestry, just as the country ones are. It's just unparalleled, but it was so multi-layered. And my cells, as they were trying to experience this, it's like it was overfiring my circuitry. It's like it was so massive, I couldn't take it all in. And it's kind of like, the way I could explain this is, if I gave you a glass of water, you could drink that glass of water. You could take in all of that water in that glass, move it through your body, and pass it up. But if I stood you in front of the ocean and I said, okay, now drink the ocean, pass the entirety of the oceans of our planet through your being, you could not funnel an ocean through your being. You can funnel a glass, right? Which is like your single tapestry is like a glass. The planetary tapestry is like funneling an entire ocean through your being. And so it's so mind-blowing and huge, but at the same time, Spirit said, it is simply our job to learn our tapestry. And then what was really neat is then I was shown a vision of the planetary tapestry, and it was the energy of Source, of God, Creator, Universe, He, She, Allah, whatever your name is for that all-encompassing energy. I will call it Source, Creator. It was standing on the top of this tapestry, and it said, I've got this. I've got you. So you just focus on learning your tapestry and spread that message. So that really kind of put it all into play, and that energy of the way I was shown that gave such an energy of support and safety, and like there is a higher power that really has this all kind of under their wing, in a sense. So again, Spirit's message for us was really focusing on unity within our tapestry. Look within yours. Contemplate your relationship with self, family, community, the collective, cosmic, and spirit. Consider where you have emotions of worry or anger, frustration, judgment, and again, all starting with yourself. Look at yourself and then look to others with compassion and forgiveness. And at the same time, I really want to emphasize, we're not just looking for all the negatives. Like, at the same time, as you're discovering self and you find those beautiful gems, those bright diamond aspects of yourself, the funny ones, the light-hearted ones, the goof-ups, the everything, love all of it. I found this really great written post on loving all aspects of yourself, and that really is true. Love the good too, not just the parts that need mending or growth or transmutation. Love the parts that are good and feel good about them. Those are your inherent gifts and abilities, and if you acquired them in this lifetime from really hard work, then love that, because you sure deserve that. And keep in mind when you're listening to the news and stuff in the world around you, keep bringing it back to what you can do differently for yourself. What raises your energy, not lowers it. And just kind of catch yourself if you're being triggered emotionally, because what's happening out there is really heavy energy. I know if I spend too long into it, it starts to bring me down, and so I have to do some work to ground and then boost my vibes up again. And so I would encourage you guys to feel your way through this experience of this pandemic. Feel it. If your vibes are going low, you're feeling lower in your energy, sad, fatigued, then it's your responsibility to figure out the things to bring you back up, whether it's a warm bath, a conversation with a friend, a funny movie, some ice cream. Honestly, ice cream's not bad. Maybe not a tub, but you could have a bowl every once in a while. That's a feel-good thing. But again, anything that you're experiencing right now, the root of any change is to transmute it. Once you transmute it, it makes unity that much more possible. We have to unite in compassion. We don't have to agree, but we can approach, share, and create with compassion. That is what's needed. So again, spend some time observing your energy. Observe the energies of those around you. Look for compassion and forgiveness. Let go of that which you can't control and that which isn't yours. And really transmute the feelings so that you're creating a ripple effect that has an energy that allows this pandemic to be a source of wonderful, uplifting energy. Really, it's within you, it's within me, it's within all of us. So enjoy focusing on this week on this tapestry and creating that greater unity for self and the planet. And I look forward to sharing some more messages as they come in from Spirit. Take care, guys. We'll chat soon.